Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. I'm Gary Wilson, your host. I'm so glad to have you back listening to the show. We've got a great guest today, Shauna the Tax Goddess. And Shauna and I have been talking. I've been doing some research. This is an excellent subject. When it comes to taxes, everybody's like, it's like a necessary expense, a necessary evil, if you will. It's not. Honestly, guys, the tax code, think of it as your partner. Think of your tax advisor as your partner, okay? And the more you learn, the more you know, the better you're going to do. So in any case, without further ado, Shauna, thank you so much for joining us. This is a great subject. Couldn't be more timely, and I really appreciate you being here,
Thanks so much for having me, Gary. This is one of my favorite subjects, and I promise I will try to make it not evil, not boring, and nothing but fun. So,
yeah. What's funny is I when I was younger, before I got into business, I actually thought I was, oh, darn it, I got another April 15th, I got to do this again. But once I got into business and I was an entrepreneur, I was like, wait a second, this is like a part of the overall business strategy, how you structure things, how you organize, when you pay. All those things, it becomes make it like a game, And
Yes.
I know people are saying it's not a game, Gary. So I'm telling you, this will
is.
change how you look at this. So just everybody make sure you have a pen or pencil handy. And if you're driving, please just wait till you get home. This will be in the show notes, and you can listen to it again and stop and pause whenever you want. So Shauna, let's start at the beginning. I always like to ask people, how did you get into this? Because most of us were born thinking I'm going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, an astronaut, a cowboy, or whatever. We ended up doing something different. But what was your point? What led you to this, if you don't mind sharing that part of the story,
Absolutely. And so it's funny, you nailed both of them. So I originally started off in astrophysics. My dream forever, numbers brain, my dream forever was to work for JPL, Jet Propulsion Labs, in the science wing. And very long story short, so I was off of college. That's what I was studying. That's what I was going to do. Came home over the summer, and you have to understand my mom. So I'm German. My mom's German, and my mom is my goddess. I'm the tax goddess. She's my goddess. So sitting at the kitchen table, and normally she's a very stoic, very, straight kind of woman, right? And she was opening the mail, put down the paper on the table and kind of push back from the table. And I'm like, ooh, that's not a reaction you likely see, are you okay? What's going on? Oh, I got a notice from the IRS, and, I've spoken to the CPA and I've spoken to the tax attorney, and nobody can help me. And this is just ridiculous. And being a small business owner, right, I feel like I'm paying taxes through the nose and nobody can do anything about it. And of course, when your goddess gets upset, when your mama gets upset, you fix it, right? I said, well, okay, I'm pretty smart. Why don't I go try and take some tax classes and, see what happens, see what I can figure out. Well, long story short, I ended up falling in love with the game. We call it chess. You've got all these little rules and all these little pieces, and it's all about how you move the pieces within the set of rules, all legal, all above board, to be able to get to the ending outcome. And so long story short, that led to what we call the 6% life. Our average for our clients in taxes is 6.92% as a final tax rate. So not only did I get to help my mama, my goddess, but of course, a bunch of clients along the way. So.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. We have a lot in common, by the way. So not only am I part German, I was actually born in Germany, in Grafenwöhr. Yep. And get this, my first degree was in computer science, and my first job, NASA. So we're like, you and I were taking parallel paths. And for all the listeners, this wasn't planned. I had no idea that was her background. Honestly, this is totally. I mean, this is one of those God winks, I guess you call it. But so, in any case, I appreciate you sharing that, because we have a great context now. Now, I want people to hold on to the seats here, because I'm going to bring up a subject, which is, how can $100 million companies unlock that 6% annual tax rate, and really 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs can do the same. I don't want people to be scared, because a lot of these strategies, Shauna, I mean, just like the question I'm posing to you, they're available for people too. If you have a $10 million company, a $1 million company, I mean, yeah. So tell us a little bit. You mentioned that a moment ago, and I want to dig into that, because I want people to recognize that you can use the tax code It's written to be used. It's not written to just sit there and gather dust. So kind of take us from there if you don't mind.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I love about being an American, the law is the law is the law, period. If it's written and you follow the law, right? Don't be straying off the path too far. Okay, they don't like that. But if you follow the law the way that it's written, right, you get the same tax deductions as the huge corporations paying 2%, paying 0%, right? Now, the biggest difference that we see between, let's take three examples, a company who's bringing in $1 million a year, or an individual bringing in $1 million a year, a company that's bringing in 100 million a year versus a company bringing in $1 billion a year, right? Is honestly, how much money do they have to spend doing strategies? So for example, $1 million a year earner is most likely not going to go set up an Irish company, a UK company, a Ugandan company, and move money between the three. It's too expensive. But can all three of those use paying their kids, writing off their dogs, using the master's exemption? Absolutely. It's just for the little guy, right? That's going to give a lot more bang for your buck, and it's something you can accomplish. You don't need an entire team of accountants from KPMG at, $200,000 a year to get the strategy. So every time we look at a different strategy, we always look at, well, how does that strategy apply to what we call the facts and circumstances of who it is that we're dealing with? And this is why tax strategy is so customized to each and every single individual, because let's take, for example, I'm single, no kids. Married? Kids, Gary? So just there.
No, actually, I call it newly single.
Newly single.
Newly
Okay.
Single. And older, they're 30, 33, married, jobs, houses. Thank goodness the bank of daddy has well, I should never say
turned off.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, and so, everybody has their different circumstances, right? So if you're newly single, I love your phrasing, newly single, you still have inheritance concerns to think about, right? You still have passing on assets. When you're single, no kids, everything I have is going to my sister. Nice and easy. But if you're married, kids, younger kids, older kids, or kids going through college, what are you focused on? Right? Are you focused on saving a bunch of wealth to pass on to the next generation? Do you want to spend it all, slide into the grave with zero? Do you want to buy a bunch of real estate, right? Do you want to, 100 doors or 1,000 doors worth of real estate? So every single person, every single business has their own set of goals, wants, desires, dreams. And we use that chessboard, all those different pieces that you have, to be able to follow the rules and get to the outcome or goal that you want, which makes absolutely everybody's tax plan completely customized to them, because there's no way I can copy and paste across individuals. It doesn't get the same outcome. So,
yeah. Well, if you don't want me asking, I don't want to put you on the spot, but how do you know? How do I know, or any listeners know, if their current tax accountant is actually using the code in their best interest for the maximum savings?
Absolutely. So my favorite example, and let's back up. So there are 660,000 CPAs according to Google. And CPAs do all sorts of things, right? They could be CFOs, they could be auditors, they could be tax people, all sorts of things. Okay. As you start to go up the chain, right? So CPA is typically the first level. You might have an EA. Those people exist too. So CPA or EA, you have masters in taxation is where you start to specialize. So at the last count I saw, there were only 60,000 masters in tax. Okay. Certified tax coach, certified tax professional, and certified tax strategist. You start narrowing. There are only 607 certified tax coaches, and there are only 15 certified tax strategists.
Wow.
So, right. And so I'm in the top three of those. So, but so when you ask, is my CPA using all the strategies? The likely answer is, unless they're one of those 15, probably not. But then you follow it up with, do I need all of the strategies? Okay. The 1,500 or so strategies that we look at, we don't apply all 1,500 to every single case, right? So a lot of it, generally the way we look at it is, can we get you down to zero? And if we can get you to zero, do we really want to push the envelope and make it negative, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So good questions. And especially since this podcast is about real estate, passive cash flow, right? Great question. If you ask your CPA, what is a cost segregation, and their eyes go blank, they are not a real estate professional, CPA, right?
Yeah.
They don't know anything about it. That's the basic baby low-hanging fruit. If you want to see if you've got somebody who knows a little bit more, ask them about the aggregation election for a live business and a commercial property. If they've never heard of the aggregation election, run away, right? That's a little more advanced.
Yeah.
You could ask about, for example, the short-term rentals. So can I do a cost segregation, even though I'm not a real estate professional, if my rental real estate has an average days of 7 or less rented? The answer should be yes, but if they don't know that, run away. So a lot of it depends, how do I know my CPA is doing everything that I need? You kind of need to know, well, which specialty are you looking for? Are you an active business? Are you real estate specifically? Are you both, right? Are you a real estate agent and you have rental properties? How does that work, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, before we were started the recording, we were talking about profit first. So how does that? So when we're looking at like a traditional CPA, the things you were just giving as examples are those examples of profit first, uh, tax accounting versus a traditional tax accountant,
Great
cost
question.
segregation, things like that. Okay.
Yeah, great question. So the three that I just listed, those are tax strategies, specifically tax strategies.
Gotcha.
Profit first think about profit first as like a third method of accounting. Okay. So for many people, you have cash accounting, right? I gave you $100. I go down by 100, you go up by 100. That's cash.
Yeah.
Okay. You have accrual, which means you sent me an invoice. I owe you 100, but even though I haven't paid it yet, for accounting purposes, I lost my 100. You have the 100 because we're accrual. Okay. Profit first basically puts standard accounting on its head. So instead of looking at income and then expenses and whatever's left is what I get to keep, profit first accounting says, here's my income. I'm deciding in advance that, let's say, 20% of my money is going to get put into an account so that I can buy my next piece of real estate. Okay. Everything other than that 20%, I'm allowed to spend on my business. So profit first accounting, while it's not necessarily a tax strategy, it's more of a easy to use automated way to save money to buy investments or meet your retirement goals or use tax strategies like paying your kids or writing off your dogs. So it's more of an automated way to manage your finances.
Did you know that you can participate in class every Monday? We call it Monday Night Live, 7 p.m. Eastern, with me and dozens of other investor agents from around the country, in fact, the world. Every Monday, totally free. No selling, no recruiting, just straight up education on anything and everything in real estate. And we have a lot of good guests coming on once or twice a month, bringing in expertise on subjects like how to buy a house with crypto. Okay. How about them apples? What about AI? How's AI affecting our business? How about the metaverse, blockchain processing? We're already using it in title work. So come on to Monday Night Live. Be ready to take notes and ask questions because it's live and engaging, and you get to participate by asking questions and meeting others. So we'll see you there. Go to GaryRealEstateWithGaryWilson.com. Click on the resource tab, drop down, and you'll see Monday Night Live. And in there, you can see one of the most recent classes. But more importantly, you can register for class as many as you want going up to like the end of the year, I believe. So in any case, do that. We'll see you on Monday Night Live. Look forward to meeting you in person. Take care.
Gotcha. Okay. That helps a lot. Now, so you've grown your business, you're in the top 3 of tax strategists, and there's really only 15 of them. So you're like the top of the top of the top.
Yes. Ranked by the AICTP. So yes.
Wow. Okay. And you've obviously scaled your business, but what did you learn when you were scaling your own accounting firm?
Yes.
The 100% digital online, and which is one of the things I really look. By the way, this was a kind of a personal note. One of the things that really attracted me to have you want to be on the podcast is I also have I guess you would call 100% digital team, and we're in 38 states, and we serve clients in multiple countries around the world. And my own experience is just my own experience. I'm always interested in learning from others how you've done it. Um, what are some of the lessons you learned? If you don't mind sharing that a little bit, because a lot of people on here, Shauna, are business owners. I mean, so we have some professionals, but some are both. They're professionals who run their own business.
Absolutely. Well, and being
Yeah.
able to run your business is not only the taxes and the organization, but also how do you keep more money, right? We go profit
Yeah.
first, and then how do you actually keep more money? So yeah, just a little bit of background. Tax Goddess, I technically own 3 companies. So there's Tax Goddess, which is the CPA firm Tax Strategy. There's Cash Goblin, which is our app for profit first. And there's Talent Gnome, which runs an HR recruiting company for people that are looking to hire either overseas or locally in the US, either one.
Mhm.
So a little bit of background about Tax Goddess. It's the company with the strategy side. At the moment,
Okay.
we have a little over 100 people on staff. They are located in 17 different countries. And as you said, 100% remote. So everyone works from home. Everyone does whatever their job is in the firm from their location. And when you talk about management, I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is 1, transparency, and 2, I
Mhm.
focus everything on performance, right? I don't care if you come in 6 hours a day. I don't care if you come in 10 hours a day. Your job is to get this done by this deadline, make it happen, right? And
Yeah.
by being transparent and open and a performance-driven culture from that standpoint, we only keep people on the team that also like transparency and being performance-driven. So it's much easier to be able to manage than, for example, the I would call it the older style of you work 40 hours a week and at 5 p.m. on Friday, you're off for the day, right?
Mhm.
So I guess that's the way we approached it.
Yeah. Well, that's a great approach, and I love your style, your leadership style, your management style, and it's you're really you know and you're so calm and cool about everything. Like you've come across as clearly having things under control, operating all cylinders, and you're smiling. So
20
that's a
years of practice. We turned 20 years old this year. So that's very sweet of you. Thank you.
wow. Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. I want to kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier, and really, well, let's do the first thing first. So, everything we've talked about, you know, tax planning, being strategic, using the rules in your favor, things like that. When we first started, we talked about this whole thing about paying taxes every year being, something that could be negative. You're just trying to be compliant. But really what we're talking about is leveraging the rules to help you grow. It's not just about playing defense. In business, you have to play offense and defense. Offense is scoring the points, and defense is keeping some of the points on the board. It's like you've turned it into, I guess you could say you've turned this into a strategic growth lever. Is there more to that? Strategically, what else can we share with people about um, taking something they see as a compliance requirement to being a strategic growth lever?
Absolutely. Geez, I feel like that question could be answered about 600 ways. So we'll
Yeah.
see what we can do here. So the first one is you've got to find the right team. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we often talk about something called the aggression scale. So 0 to
Mm-hmm.
10, 0 meaning the IRS never calls you never ever, and 10 meaning we're all going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Okay.
I'm a redhead. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just laughing.
Oh, you're
This is
laughing. Yeah.
yeah,
I have
yeah.
learned, right? I'm a redhead, and red and orange do not look good together. So there's no 10s in my world. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I bring up this aggression scale is that when you are talking to your finance team, right? So your CPA, your
Mm-hmm.
bookkeeper, your financial advisor, your insurance advisor, these kinds of people, if you ask them that question, the aggression scale, if you as a business owner are, let's say, a level 8, so 10 is we're going to jail. 9 is you're doing Al Capone. You're doing some shady stuff, hoping you don't get caught. Okay. And 8 is totally legal, above board, but you might get a call, right? But it's legal, it's above board, you got all the proof, you're good. Okay. If you as an entrepreneur are an 8 and you ask that question to your CPA, for example, the person preparing your taxes, and they say 2, you're probably leaving a bunch of stuff on the table. Not because they didn't know it, but because they themselves will not go past a 2. So, you want to make sure you have the right team, that they tie with whatever your aggression level is. Okay. You want to be looking at structure. So often what we see, especially when somebody first starts a business, they just kind of go out there and start making money. They may not have an LLC. They may not have an S corp. They may, so you've got to look at entity structure is a big thing. You absolutely must have a good set of books, because if you don't know what your numbers are, you can't plan, period. Right. And
absolutely.
Cash and cash flow are king and emperor. Okay. These two things go together. So if you completely cash strip yourself buying 50 rental properties, but maybe you should have bought 45, done some cost seg, got some tax deductions, and then use the tax savings to go get more, you're going to put yourself in a bind. So knowing your cash position and really understanding it, getting that education with your bookkeeper, your tax preparer, your tax strategist, you've got to know what your cash position is at any given point in time. So
well, I really like that, and I want to go into another subject here, which is the you just developed an app, but kind of leading into that first, if you don't mind. One of the things that caught my eye when I was looking at everything is there was a line that said 10 ways to save 10K on your taxes. And that could be another, probably an hour or 2 discussion, but is there anything in there you think that like in sort of summary fashion that we could share with people to give an idea of what we're talking about there,
I love it. Well, you're 100% correct. 10 ways to save 10K. If you ever want to, Gary, I'll do a webinar just for your people. Happy to do that. Okay. Because that's probably 2 hours right there. But I think if listeners were going to take anything away from today, I would say 3 words. Okay. Ordinary, necessary, and reasonable. Okay. And the reason I use those 3 words, those are the words that the IRS uses to define when something is a tax deduction. Okay. And so let's take a common example. Most of us have home offices, right? And to us, we're thinking, okay, well, it's my office for my business. It's ordinary, necessary, reasonable. Okay, that's fine. If you don't have an accountable plan, the IRS may or may not allow you to deduct it, even though it's ordinary, necessary, reasonable. So the stepping stone, the very first piece that you have to pass is ordinary, necessary, and reasonable. Then you have specific rules based on what it is you're trying to write off. And that's really where, if your current financial team is not an expert, you want to find an expert to make sure. For example, taking real estate professional status, if you don't know all the rules, that could really bite you. So
well, I know I'm not a practicing real estate agent. In fact, I didn't get my license to be a traditional agent at all. I got it for the purpose of investing. I already had a regular job. I retired. I was retired very early, thank goodness, due to real estate and also having, minimizing my tax burden. Real estate was one of the great vehicles to do that. But in any case, I remember listening to my tax accountant telling me, if you're a real estate professional, it opens up more doors for you. And I said, well, ironically, I'm getting my license because most agents don't know how to really help me. Wonderful people help me buy my own home, and that's wonderful. But when it came to investing, they just weren't educated. That's what I did. I created a company to educate agents on how to work with investors. That was my business. So I'm licensed as a result of that in multiple, all over the country, actually. So, but going forward, enough about me. Going forward, tell us about the app. I wrote this down. It's the Cash Goblin. Is that right?
Cash Goblin. Yes. Okay. Hold on. I have to show you because he's adorable. Hold on. So it's Cash Goblin. He is
cool.
He's pretty cool. So what Cash Goblin does, this is for the people that are really looking for an easy, automated way to save money. Now, when I say save money, it's not just saving money. It's putting money aside for an investment property buy, putting money aside into retirement, putting money aside to pay off debts. A lot of my real estate people love paying off those mortgages early, and especially since the rates are a little bit higher. Exactly. We're hoping they're going to come down, fingers crossed, but we'll see how that goes. So what Cash Goblin does, it automates the movement of money. Now, with many of the banks, if you have, let's say, for example, you have all of your money inside Chase with all of your accounts at Chase, you're fine. Most of the banks can do that automation within their own accounts. But if you're like me, you might have a couple of relationships. So I've got a Chase account, I've got a Bank of America account, I've got a Wells Fargo account, because who's going to give me the best mortgage? I don't know. It depends on what we're doing, right? So with Cash Goblin, I can tell the little goblins in the background to automatically move 5% of every deposit into my investment account, or 5% of every deposit to pay off this debt, or 5% on the 5th of every month to go save for retirement, whatever it is. So yeah, we're in love with Cash Goblin. It's currently in beta test. It should be live here in a couple of months. So I'm super excited.
So it literally will allow you to interface, I guess, potentially with multiple accounts and multiple entities to do a better job more easily of managing your cash. That is awesome.
Your cash. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's hard to argue with little cash goblins running around in the background doing all the hard work. So yes.
Oh yeah. Well, your value of your stock is going up every minute. Sean, I'll tell you, you're like, yeah, this is awesome news. Everybody listening, I hope is really paying attention here. I know sometimes our minds drift off to the Bahamas, the grocery store, but this is golden nugget time, everybody. So hey, I want to jump into the book here. I know you've got a couple of them, but the 6% Life. How can people get it? Kind of take us through what's the tributes, I guess, if you will.
Absolutely. Well, you can get it on Amazon, which makes it really easy. So it's the 6% Life. It covers our most popular 7 tax loopholes. So, now, of course, everyone, it's a tax book, it's boring. I promise it's written as a story, and I have had nothing but great feedback talking about how entertaining it is. So did try to make it interesting for everyone. But yeah, for those 7 strategies, it goes over the pitfalls, what do you need to watch for, what kind of questions. Earlier you were asking me, what questions do I need to ask my advisor? Those are in that book, right? So yeah, you can buy it on Amazon, and we actually beat out Think and Grow Rich for like 3 weeks on the Amazon bestseller list. So it made me very happy.
Yeah, well, I think so. Now we talked a lot about a lot of things today. When it comes to, let's talk about the 7 to 8 figure folks, because there's a lot of them out there listening, from what we can tell. Most live in the United States. We do have a lot of people who live, they're either expats where they have multiple citizenships or residencies around the country strategically. But they're mostly entrepreneurs and mostly business owners. But let's talk about the 7 to 8 figure earners or entrepreneurs, excuse me, just in the States, who are currently paying high taxes now. Like what's the next step for them? How, go to the website, read the book, get a consultation, and if they're not able to work with you, I'm not sure, if you'd ever, it sounds like you've got enough capacity to handle it, a lot of people, but what are their next steps to take advantage of this? Because a lot of them, they hear about it, they just haven't done anything. And this is action time, guys. So what action steps can we give them,
Absolutely. Probably the best place to start, if you want to actually speak to us, taxgoddess.com. You can book an appointment, I think, in the top right-hand corner. But really, it all starts with, our team's going to ask you a bunch of questions, right? So at the outset of our conversation, I talked about, we need to know, so married, kids, or do you want to buy a yacht? What do you want out of life here, right? Because once we know your details, then we can merge it with the tax knowledge, merge it with your current tax returns, and point your ship in the direction to get you where you want to go, while, of course, reducing your taxes. So yeah, if you're looking to speak with somebody, if you're sick and tired of paying all your money to the government, reach out. Taxgoddess.com is the way to go. And if you want to learn about it in the background, go for the book. So
yeah. Well, I want to review a couple of things for us, guys. The book is The 6% Life, and written by yours truly, Shauna, the Tax Goddess, on Amazon. Also, just remember the website, taxgoddess.com, upper corner, upper right-hand corner. Is that right? You can set an appointment for a consultation. That's awesome. And then the Cash Goblin app, is there a projected time frame? I mean, I know it's when you're beta
Well, we're
testing, it could be
hoping
3 weeks, 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping it should be live by August 1st of 2024. So if it's
Wow.
not, right now we have a wait list. We already have something like 3,000 people on the wait list. So worst case, cashgoblin.com, join the wait list. And as soon as it's live, we'll be sending out an announcement. So
Okay. Well, I'm gonna make sure I'm number 3001. So I'll do that. And everybody also remember one more thing is the profit, it's not just about getting your taxes down to 6%, but profit first, the profit first strategy. This is really important. It's something I haven't heard of before, somewhat I've been doing. But guys, this is all about you and your business and your family. And usually all three are very much closely related. So think of this as a way for you to, when it comes to making money and saving money, it's not just for the sake of having more money. It's because it buys you a little bit of time freedom. And as you progress in your business and you progress in life, you're going to realize that money is a measurement of how well you've done in your business and how well you've done keeping some of what you made. Okay, the real wealth is in the time that it buys you. You get to have time to have more experiences with your loved ones, to actually be with your loved ones, to travel at will. This is an integral part to your overall strategy. So Shauna, anything else you can think of? We've got probably another minute or so. Could be something from your mom or a grandparent, maybe back in the homeland of Germany, that you can share, with words of wisdom you can share with someone.
Well, you're gonna kill me. It's not from my mom, so mom, don't take any offense if you hear this. But the words of wisdom that always come to mind, especially when we talk about saving money, taxes, all of it, is actually Master Yoda: do or do not, there is no try. So, we see a lot of people out there, they get really excited, like, yeah, I don't want to pay the taxes, I'm going to figure this out. I would love to say that as a goddess, I can wave a magic wand and poof, it's gone. There's a little bit of work. So you got to do it, guys. But if you do it, the average is 6%. So it's really hard to argue if you want that cash. So
yeah, I agree 100%. And I'm living proof. I know back in the 90s, the late 90s, I switched over from doing my own taxes as a simple W-2 employee to paying a tax advisor to help me do my taxes. And I remember thinking, Mr. Frugal, right? Plus German, right? Like, okay, I don't know if I want to spend that kind of money. I'm going to spend money to save money. But it turns out it's one of the best moves I ever made because you don't know what you don't know. And I forget the last count on the lines of tax code. It's something like 13 million lines of tax code. You can't ever master that. That's crazy. Shauna's got a team of like 90 something people, right? I mean, pay for the expertise.
That's all they do.
Yeah, it's an investment in your defense, the defensive part of your game. So in any case, Shauna, I just want to thank you again. And I want to thank you, the listener, everybody participating. Remember, if you could, everybody listening, leave a review, especially on this one. I know I asked that a lot, but your review is our currency in the podcast world. So we really value and appreciate your time that you take to do the review for Shauna's podcast. So do that. Go to visit the taxgoddess.com. Okay. Set yourself up for a consultation. Doesn't cost anything, and put yourself on the list for the Cash Goblin app. So in any case, we will see you all on the next Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, and God bless you and your families.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.